it would be silly for me to think everybody must like me.
Yes, of course.
The people who don't like me is because they understand me very well. They just don't like my message. You understand? What do you feel if I said you are a serial rapist? This is now a message from a minister of state to me. There was a fax, bruh. Fax to each journalist.
Different numbers.
And then call them. Chief, have you received my fax? But no, we didn't.
No.
The paper is finished.
Send it again. Yo.
King David Studio Podcast.
We have with us someone whom I think is one of our greatest South Africans. I might as well call this show People of the South. You remember back?
Yeah, I remember. Dalitam, where is he?
Maybe I should give you a cushion. Do we have a cushion? We should arrange a cushion here. I have with us Onkgopotse JJ Tabane. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, David. Thank you for inviting me. I'm not sure why you invited me, but thank you.
The world of podcasting is quite interesting. It allows us for these frank and open conversations, you know, because Redutsi almost like sitting under a tree.
Absolutely.
Yes, and then we're talking about South Africa and its challenges, and I like the idea of touching on people's stories.
Absolutely.
And where you come from, because I think you're one of those rare breeds. South Africa doesn't have those like you. If they're batting, they're on Twitter. They just tweet and they walk away. And you're brave enough to just do this thing so bravely. And that's the reason why I called you here. And I'm so honored, so much so that I had to prepare. Not that I don't always prepare, but I prepared for you. I hope that's okay.
That's okay, indeed.
So how are you though? How's everything?
I'm fine, thank you. The year started really with a bang. I mean, this year is going to be a hectic year.
Yeah.
I've just finished an editorial. Now I've put together 2 editions. I edit Leadership magazine. So this month we produced 2 editions in parallel. Why?
Whoa.
Because Bishop Tutu decided to leave us late last year, and we laid him to rest on the 1st. And I said, his story can't even be told in 80 pages.
No.
Usually our special edition would be about 44 pages. We couldn't manage.
Really?
So
you had to do 2?
We had to do 2. So there's one normal February edition, which focuses on education because this is the beginning of the year. But we have this other special edition that's as thick as the main edition.
Wow. And
telling just Desmond Tutu's story.
Wow.
And I've just written to say, a South African like that whose journey has just ended has impacted on so many lives. So that's how January started for me. I spent this month almost reliving the story as I'm reading tributes from top South Africans like Professor Bani Bijana, Archbishop Makgoba, the Archbishop of Canterbury, as well as people like Bishop Mpumulwane. And so reading this, I'm saying, if even just a quarter of us could do what Tutu did, this would be a different country.
Or just your entire life, 20% of it could be attributed to living what Tutu lived.
Absolutely.
We would do so much collectively.
Absolutely. I was particularly lucky. I had 2 doses of Tutu in my life.
Tell me the first one.
The first dose was when I was the president of the Anglican Students Federation, and he was the Archbishop. And in those days, we're always fighting. We come to a meeting where he's chairing a meeting of bishops and fight and say, we want women to be ordained. We want the young people to be given more resources to do youth work. And he would say, why are you fighting?
Let's talk.
No, because he would already have lobbied these bishops, knowing that we are coming to present, because he was so passionate about young people. That by the time we came to present, they had already lobbied these bishops. Largely, it was largely white bishops who couldn't really give much of a damn to us. So we came there with fighting, this family.
Because this fighting.
Yeah, at 25, 24, we were not measured at all.
No.
So that was my first dose of Tutu. And he sort of taught us how to be radical, but also be able to, what I call, navigate issues of reconciliation and justice.
And navigate them smartly.
But at that, when you're 25, you're not interested in navigating smartly. You're just interested in saying, listen here.
You're a radical.
You can't tell us what to do, what to say, what to think,
Yes.
So that was my first dose. My second dose was around 94. Now I was president of the UWC SRC in Cape Town. and he was the chancellor. And now students are on riot, and he says, "You again?
Are you here to fight again?" Oh no!
So I remember that I was part of the Anglican students movement. I was in New York when students went on strike. And he was there, I wasn't there. Then he rang me to say, "Hey, you need to come home and tell your people to go to school."
What was the reason for you to be being in New York?
I was what was called the convener of what was called the International Anglican Youth Network.
Yeah.
So part of my activism was really started in. That's how I entered student politics. So through the Christian front. Yes. Because I remember around the 80s and so on, most organizations were banned except Christian organizations.
That's true.
So when I got to university, which was at Teflop around 1989, 1990, one of the first things I looked to was the Anglican church.
Yeah.
And then joined what was called the Anglican Society and what was called the Young Christian Student. So I rose through the ranks. By the time it was 94, I was now head of the International Youth Movement.
Sure.
Right? While I was president of SRC at UWC. So I was in New York for a week.
And already
and students were striking.
You're like when the famous story Butelezi. There was few days and then Lesotho wanted to invade Lesotho. I don't even know how true that story is. Is it true?
No, it's true. He did. I mean, just probably it was a coincidence that things were happening in Lesotho while he was acting president.
Exactly.
And he had to act. But probably that decision had already been made.
Oh, before him.
Yeah,
hell.
But we always sort of try and pin it on him.
Tell me though about your, because I want to get rid of this part of the Anglican very quickly, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm also Anglican.
Okay.
I was altar boy, Kuma Melody.
Yeah, me too.
You see, for about 3 years. Which position?
I was the head. Thurifier.
Yes, that thing with smoke.
I was a thurifier. I was the head altar boy in our church in Hebron called St. Mark's Hebron. This church was founded by my dad, actually.
When you were destined to be head.
Well, the Archbishop has already suggested that I be ordained. I don't prefer that route.
So you could have easily been a pastor. You were.
No, absolutely. My brother is a lay minister in his own church in Centurion.
Yes.
My dad always suggested indirectly and so on. My wife is already a priest. I think I've already an overdose of priests. I can do something else.
So, altar boy, and gradually you stayed within the church system for quite a bit, it seems.
Absolutely, because like I'm saying, that's what rooted me.
Yeah.
Right. When you are you grow up in a sheltered environment, went to a Catholic school, altar boy, my father a priest, my mother a principal. You are surrounded by value system. No joke. So when I go to university, where I didn't have to account to anybody, I was independent. The first thing I looked for was, this place is chaotic, man. Where's the disciplinary committee?
Yes, where's the DC?
Yeah, where's the DC and where's the church?
Yeah.
Those are the two things. So I was actually immediately, within a month of being at university, I was a clerk of the court of the SRC's disciplinary committee. I used to write people summons who were misbehaving.
Already first year.
But I was very tiny in those days, so they didn't actually think that I'm the clerk of the. When I came to deliver your summon, I just knock and say, "Hey, David, are you David? Yeah. Please sign here." And then when you come to the DC, you find me sitting there writing everything. And I was actually the clerk of that court for 3 years, and that's how I got interested in law. Because when I got there, I wasn't studying law.
Yeah.
But eventually, I went to study law at UWC after finishing.
After you got TEF, yeah. What did you study at TEF?
Actually, the story of TEF is very interesting. My metric wasn't so great.
Oh, hell. You should go rewrite now.
in those days, they could D. It was still a bachelor. I got D, instead of C, which is what I was targeting.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a medical doctor. So I go to Medunsa and say, "Hey, man, your results are bad.
Oh, fail mo.
Tamaya, you got tefulo pupili." And do something called BSc pre-medicine.
Aha, I know all about it.
Yeah, so it's the first year. It looks like exactly like medical first year, but you go TEFLOP, you do bios, maths, physics, and so there are four, the big four. And I failed all.
First year?
Yeah, my first year I failed all of them. I only passed something that was called special English for science students.
Yeah.
You know how to call it exam. My father says, at least you pass something. Then he said, and you're not studying, you must sit there, go to UNISA and register this, basics like English, philosophy, and so.
What were your challenges though in that first year?
Look, I truly, I'm still puzzled even now because, my maths teacher, during what was called tutorials, used to ask me to explain to the other students what was going on.
Mara exam?
But go exam tololo.
So
I can't tell you what really the issue was. It's just that sometimes we fail to understand what are our capabilities, what are our strengths, and what is our passion. I cannot imagine that maths was my passion, really, except that at Tsoho High School,
you were good.
They trust us. So if you're in standard 10B, you are with those who want to do engineering and maths, and so you assume that that's what you want to do. Actually, not.
But what was your true passion from high school stage? And I sometimes think we expect too much of youngsters at that age. But what was ringing in your head?
No, absolutely. The issues of, I could call it letters.
Okay.
That's how I can put it.
Yeah.
Letters were my passion. In
Really?
fact, I started the magazine, right, of our high school. It was called Tsoga Tsogo, Wake Up Tsogo.
Yes.
I started that magazine. When I went to university, I started magazine of SASCO at UW.
Yeah, man.
I've been starting publications. And so now, last year or during the lockdown, when the leadership magazine approached me to say, be editor, I said, now this is coming full set.
It's coming. Yes.
I edited that magazine for 18 months and they've already given me a second one to edit,
Gee.
which is called Black Business Quarterly. Letters has been my passion. But I sort of ignored it when I then wanted to choose a career.
Was it because it wasn't encouraged in your environment?
I don't remember there being proper career guidance. I don't even remember anybody asking me the question you're asking me now at that point to say,
Jeez.
what do you really want to do with your life?
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm in standard 10B. These are science whiz kids. They want to be doctors,
engineers.
And half of them are those things. Are doctors, they're engineers.
Yes.
So,
right now.
Yeah, in their careers.
Yes.
I wanted to be a doctor. Eventually, I was a doctor, but not
not that kind of doctor.
Yeah, but doctor of letters,
yes.
not of medicine.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have turned out as a medical.
In a medical profession,
I couldn't. My sister managed. Who's my younger sister is an oncologist.
Okay, wow, a specialized doctor as well
in Santen. So at least she did that for us.
Did she put you under pressure to get the title?
Not at all. I thought the title is quite a nice thing to get because I'll tell you why. Because
your ego is talking here.
Absolutely. I said, why are these people talking things that I know better? Because I've been in government communications and media
for a long time,
25 years, and sometimes when I listen to some people who call themselves professors talking about what's happening in government community, I said, no ways, this can't be. The only reason why these other people aren't taking it serious is that these ones have their title. They went to study this thing. Yeah, but yet if I go to study this thing, I'm sure I can match them pound to pound. I said, to hell with it. I'm going to vet and I'm getting this PhD. And in 4 years, it was in the bag.
We speak about this and it's a recurring thing on this podcast. And I'll expose it to you because it's the same research. When I did my master's, I researched government communication.
Sure.
So I'll expose it to you. Yes, because because of my business, we got a lot of government work in the communication space.
Beautiful.
And it got me more and more curious about and really frustrated about how we can easily get information through to our people, but for some reason there's something that's not happening.
Absolutely.
And the information is not getting there. And I remember using a dumb example to my supervisor. I said, if you never tell her you love her, she'll never know.
She'll never know.
Yes. Even if you buy her things, she'll always want you to say the words.
Absolutely.
Yes. And communication in government is exactly the same.
Yeah.
You can rock up here wearing T-shirts and all sorts, but if you never really say anything to the people, they'll never really grasp what you're trying to tell them.
The work of government is not complete until it's communicated, because half of it actually is to be able to reach out to the people.
That's it.
Take Home Affairs, for example. if they don't communicate, so I went to get this new
the new
card.
ID, yes.
Yeah, and it's there at Runback, whatever.
Yes, right up the road, not far from here.
They sent me an SMS to say your thing is ready. It was like 4 weeks ago. I haven't collected it.
Yes,
that's what Mzwale is complaining about. These things are piling. You know.
Yes.
But if you minus that communications, I wouldn't know now that it's ready. I would have to figure out when assume that it's been 4 weeks, it must be ready. I mean, in those days it would take 3-4 months. Now these days it takes 2 weeks and it's ready, you know. But I'm just giving that example to show you how communication is half of the work. If they communicated more and made sure that everyone who has a phone, who has a WhatsApp and so on, get those messages, then they won't have a backlog. Continuous
messages, even messages about all sorts of things, everything essentially that government does.
No, there's nothing in government that you can pick where communication is not key.
Necessary,
right? They actually isn't. And that's really what I find difficult with government, that they don't make communications too much of a priority. You know how long GCIS had an acting CEO? I think 8 years.
I know all about
8
it.
Years.
Yes. Because part of my research was GCIS. So I have a whole section on GCIS. You understand?
And they couldn't be bothered because, you know, maybe they thought it was not so important, the department. And in the same period that they had an acting CEO and they had poor government communications, government was getting terrible PR on all sorts of things.
I remember the Themba Basoko days quite well. That's when I was starting my business. And I remember when it was during Becky days. And I remember when it all changed to the new people, to a point I don't even know who they are. I remember a different CEO coming. I remember there was this lady that came in as well. I forgot her name now. And then there were changes. Which Jimmy Manyek started coming in, and there were a lot of changes. And there was very little communication. At some point, a CEO of GCIS used to be spokesperson of cabinet.
Yes. Yeah, that disappeared. Yeah. In fact, that discussion was what actually provoked me to write a piece, because there's a professor who will remain nameless, who wrote, you know, why, you know, that should be divided. In other words, if you're a GCIS CEO, you shouldn't be spokesperson of government. So
wrote a piece on that.
Yeah, and I said, this guy, if he has not been on the firing line, because if you are GCIS CEO and you don't know what the hell is happening in cabinet, why must I listen to you?
Yes, because your role is...
There's a reason why those were combined under Joel Netijenze, because then he was guiding policy, right, as well as communicating that policy.
Yeah.
And not being called to say, can you please write this statement? He needed to understand context.
He was in the meeting.
You understand? He has to be in the meeting to hear what cabinet is talking about, so that he can be able to identify where are communication opportunities and what needs to not communicated at what point. The timing is also important. None of those things can be done when you are sitting outside. So I just said, this professor doesn't know what he's talking about.
So much has changed though, eh? So much has changed in the area that you specialize in.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that we still haven't taken that seriously. But I'm not bothered by that. South Africa is always, punched above its weight on one hand, but on the other, take itself too seriously. South Africa is a small market.
Tiny.
You understand? And when you say that, they take offense. But the reality is, I'm not going to waste my time here only. I do work here. But there's a whole world that's open. I've just been to Kenya 3 months ago. Facilitated a meeting of 40 African countries, communicators from those countries.
Wow.
South Africa was not even present.
Why were we not there?
They were just absconded. Because maybe communications of the continent, of the African story, it was not so much of a priority for them. So they were not present. There. Okay? Wow. We sat there to talk about how are we going to tell the African story.
As a unit.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and there were fantastic things that came out of there. I mean, as I was telling you, I edit Leadership magazine. In the time that I was editing it, I've already launched what we call Leadership Africa. That goes into 40 African countries. Wow. I'm about to launch an edition in Ghana, in Kenya, in Nigeria.
Jeez.
Over the next couple of
the years. Words continue to follow you.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm going to do until my dying days.
I want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
To your home.
Yeah.
Onkgopotse, where were you born?
Okay, so I'm from a small village in the northwest called Hebron.
Yes, I know it well.
My home is Madibeng. So I was born in Brett, where Madibeng is now headquartered. In fact, I was just last week to talk to them, because, you know, we can scream, but we also need to find out how do we contribute. to rebuild.
Don't just shout from the stands.
Not my style, honest. I know people some may just experience the shouting, but I'm very busy. That's
what we see.
Trying to change the world.
So yes.
Yeah. So I was born in Brett. Then in 1972, it's 50 years ago. I'm turning 50 this July. I say this, embarrassingly, because I'm a few years younger than you. Is that so?
And I don't like the smell of 50. It doesn't smell nice.
I don't feel 50 at all. But anyway, I'm turning 50 in July. So I was born 50 years ago in Brett. We moved to Hebron in 1977, and that's where my father still is. My mother passed away about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, but the effect of her life is quite big in your
huge impact. I mean, my mother was a principal of the Lerato Primary School where I started my schooling.
Okay,
in 1977 or thereabouts, and then she also then went on to be a head of department of the Setswana language in the Hebron College, which is one of the biggest colleges for teachers in that area. So, her academic pursuits, encouraged me.
You saw them firsthand.
Books of Unisa, rehearse this Shakespeare and what.
They used to get cassettes at some point.
They used to get cassettes, but also, what do you call study guides?
Yes, of course. Big study guides.
I don't know what's happening these days, but UNISA used to be really big in as far as higher education is concerned. So that's my background. Situated in Hebron, my father was a librarian in the National Library in Mawatu in those days, and also then moved to the National Library in Pretoria, and he did lots of work in the Setswana language. In fact, he compiled what is called a bibliography of all the Setswana literature.
What?
Right? In South Africa. I don't think anybody has managed to do a follow-up of that.
Tell me more about mom and dad, particularly how they related.
Yeah. Look, I mean, one could say without fear of contradiction, this was a model marriage, right? And they always say, you can only watch and learn, but you may not always replicate. I'm on my third marriage. Okay, it's my last one. If this doesn't work, I give up.
I think I had that on Brad Tim's conversation with you. Yes. So you didn't learn much.
I did, but you can learn something, but it doesn't mean that you will always replicate it.
Yes, right? Yes.
But also you have to write your own script.
That's true. And you meet different people relative to their meeting.
Yeah, you have to write your own script. So my parents rooted me and so on, but I didn't seek to be them. I would be ambitious to be like them. I think they were fantastic. They are fantastic people. But, you can only, wish to be, even 50% of what they are. So, I came back from university and I said to my dad, hey, my girlfriend is pregnant. He said, don't even mention marriage to her.
Yeah. Why did he have the wisdom to say that to you?
Well, I'm not sure it was a wisdom or not. I'm just saying these are the people who are very strict, and I didn't think he would say something like that, and that didn't last, because when the father of my girlfriend then called him, and they both discovered they are both priests in their communities.
Oh no!
We're getting married in Cape Town in 2 months.
So you went ahead?
Yeah, no, we got married because they said, no, these people are going to embarrass us. Let's go, And
so they agreed.
Yeah, they agreed.
This is a bad idea.
We're preachers' kids. And there was no way this was going to just go, unattended to. And we ended up getting married. I got married on campus. I was president of the SRC for my second term. Before I could even go and work, I was getting married on campus to my girlfriend. And a baby was coming in a few months.
For you, what inspired the need to do this and solve it and let's get married?
Look, I mean, first you're in love. There's no doubt about that. And if parents were saying you can't just have this baby out of wedlock, we couldn't argue with that, because in a sense they had indoctrinated us to think like that anyway.
As pastors' kids.
You understand?
Yes.
But I wouldn't encourage that. I think that people shouldn't just rush into marriage. I wouldn't encourage anybody who's 25 to get married.
Why wouldn't?
Okay. Because I was 25 when I got married, it didn't last 4 years.
Oh, no.
Right? So I would think there's a level of maturity required for marriage. And I think that, some of my nieces come to me to go to lobola negotiations. If they are below 30...
Have you been to one?
Many. If they are below 30, I just tell them to come and talk to me after 4 years. Just jowl.
Enjoy yourself.
Can you jowl a little bit and learn something from there? And maybe the person you are with is not the one you'll end up with.
Are you a tough Mahadi negotiator?
Not really. I listen to the budget. If you tell me, you say I've got 30 or 40 or 100, then I will make sure that happens.
Oh, so you want to know what you're dealing with?
Yeah. You must tell me what's the point. And I don't want to damage your issue. Go there and ask for too much money.
So what is an ideal scenario? Is it from the guy? Who comes to you often for this negotiation?
It will probably be the guy. The guy who wants me to go and ask for the lady.
So then your question would be...
how much do you have?
Yes.
Yeah. So what are the parameters? So if the guy says, no, I've got 50,000, then I get there and say 30, and then we start talking from there.
You're safe.
Then they'll push back to 40, and then we still come back with some change. Yeah, But often what happens, which is not allowed, by the way, is that you will talk to your girlfriend and you already agree in the background. She will tell them how much not to ask for.
Interesting. You say it's not allowed. That's how I would have done it. I would have said, it's not about how much you have. Yeah. It's about how much they want.
Yeah.
So go tell your girlfriend to check a
But
code.
actually, the girlfriend is not supposed to be involved at all. She isn't supposed to know how much you pay.
We live in different times.
No. It's vulgarizing the situation. It shouldn't be like that. In the first place, it's not about money. It's about two families coming together.
That's true.
We're coming there to say thank you. We are now putting our kids together. It will also put our families together.
Absolutely. But we live in different times. I heard of a crazy story where the lobola negotiation had a WhatsApp group.
Oh my God.
You see what I mean? Yeah, we live in very different times. So anything is possible. I want to go back to Daddy.
Yeah.
Daddy's influence on the men you are now.
Yeah.
What stands out about it?
I think discipline. Right. And it almost happened naturally that he would transfer that disciplinary nature to me. So this thing you see on air where Kastwana we say ho omanya.
Yes.
I suppose
you got it from him.
I inherited that.
Jeez.
You just call it out. And don't take any.
So you're not acting. You're not pretending.
No,
this
is
you.
No, interestingly, a director of mine at New Zuma Africa who was Ausidi Poko. She used to be with the
SABC. I know that name stands out quite.
So there was a particular rant. There's the 15-minute part, and I'll tell you where that came from. But on TV, it's too intense because you are looking at me for 15 minutes and I'm talking to myself. So one day after one of these rants, Ausidi says, "But Ntate Tabane, when I go kwata la maniti." Yes, I'm angry about this thing. I'm not pretending. There's no script, by the way. That thing. No, there isn't. When I arrive at work, the producer asks, "So what are you talking about tonight?" If I would not have told them before, because they have to go and get stuff that would show
support
in the background.
Your rent. Yes.
Either clips that I want or graphics behind.
That's
etc.
true.
But that's all I tell them. I don't tell them what I'm going to say, because I say to them, sometimes I also don't know. I just know that I'm angry about X and I'm going to express it like you and I are sitting and talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be clever and script it, but it's actually very systematic. I've just discovered how systematic it is just now, because a minister took us to the BCCSA.
Really?
To say that what I said was beyond the limits of freedom of speech.
Yes,
because I just called him incompetent about something.
Is it Labour Department?
Yeah, Labour and Employment.
Yeah.
So the lawyers had to go and defend this. I was not even there. They just looked at the recording and described the show in a manner that I've never seen it described before.
When they were systematic.
Yeah, and when they actually said what was said in the rant, you could see this is logical.
Yeah. You started here and came here and then went.
It's a rant, but it's very logical.
You were not even aware how
exactly.
Systematic.
It talked about skills. It says this country has a deficit of skills.
Yeah.
and if you look at municipalities, and this was in the context of the 1st of November coming up, if you look at municipalities and the profile of the people that we put in charge of municipalities, you'll be appalled.
That's true.
69% of those people don't have a matric. 4% only have a post-school qualification. So what do you expect? Are you surprised when these people can't
deliver
balance sheets? They can't deliver services. They can't even get clean audits. They are not qualified.
There should be a threshold of
There must
people.
be a threshold. And we're not saying that if you didn't go to university, you can't be a councillor. But 69%.
Embarrassingly, I know of people who were running for elections this time, and they were doing it just so they can get a salary. It was quite clear.
And that's the problem. You see, in the past, there used to be a different way to deal with councillors. Councillors used to be people who are doing something else in society. School principals, teachers, priests, actually being selected to be on the council of a municipality. They're not there to earn a salary. They're not there as a career. They are there because there are people of note in the community who have already made it in life, and they are coming now to help society. If you can go back to that, you will see the quality of your services, the quality of municipalities will change. And we'll stop this thing where a 20-year-old is going to be a councillor. What do they know?
There's a Bongani who ran Midval and he ran it well.
Yeah, he was 25. He's a race. That's why you and I can talk to you about him today. He's 1 out of a million.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm not saying young people shouldn't be there, but I'm just saying not as a career to set out to say, I'm studying, but I just want to be a counsellor. No. Go and do something else so that you can...
You'll come back.
Have a world view of many things, of values, of challenges, of knowing how to solve problems. Then take that and then come and apply it in government. Interesting,
the value of seeing a world view. I remember when I went to study, now recently, a master's, there was a lady there who was 25. And she enrolled, smart enough to pass those aptitude tests and so forth. She was in there. Within a year, she said she's overwhelmed by this because she has no references. When they ask a question, she doesn't know what to relate it to.
Exactly. And I think you've raised such an important point because, people can just sit in university and accumulate degrees. And when they come out, they don't understand how the world works. When I did my PhD, all the people that I interviewed for my PhD were in my phone. I was not running around thinking, scratching my head. They were all. I interviewed about 30 to 50 people. All of them were in my phone. And I called them and say, "I'm doing a PhD. You are going to talk to me. When can you do this?
Can we arrange a meeting?"
Not scratching my head. When you don't even have that network. You would write somebody a letter to say, "I'm doing a research. Please help me," and they respond to you after 3 months.
Yes, or never respond.
They just ignore you, right?
Because helping someone with that takes a lot of time from you as well.
Absolutely. So there's a need to understand that we need to connect the studying and the real life situations in order to make the products of those studies, whether it be MA or PhD thesis, to actually add value to life.
Let's go back. I'll always go back home to Mommy and her role in the JJ Tabane that we see now.
Absolutely. My mother was a disciplinarian. But in Setswana, there's a term called chobolo. When she calls you and says, "Onkgopotse!" you know you're in big trouble.
What else did you want? We know them, yes.
So my mother was also a disciplinarian. So both of them were disciplinarians. So they had that trait. But she also was a hard worker. Who could not tolerate laziness. In Setswana, didn't want that. You even raised the best example. So we had 3 siblings that you take turns to wash the dishes, and she will come and inspect. So if she comes and raises a plate like this and there is oil, you are punished. So you're going to wash the dishes the following day again. Taught us how to cook. And that came in handy. When I went to university, I don't have to tell you how terrible the food of the hostel is. So I cooked my own food. I used to cook for my friends at university.
Because you had mastered the skill.
Absolutely. She taught us that, That got me into a bit of trouble, by the way, when I got into my first marriage, because my wife then didn't like to cook. And she produced, I hope she's not listening, but she produced a timetable to say, "You are cooking today. I'm cooking tomorrow."
So I
like cooking. I hated that. My current wife now is chased me out of the kitchen.
Yes.
I cook very rarely. She just says, no.
But you still like it? You still enjoy it?
No, I like it. But, you know, she just says, you cause a mess, man. When you've cooked and everything, the kitchen is upside down, just get out.
Jeez. So, mommy's contribution, discipline.
Discipline.
And
discipline and hard work. You know, and you know, some of reprimands still rings in my head sometimes when I try and do a wrong thing.
What comes to mind immediately? Because I can tell you mine.
Yeah.
My mom, we had this weird habit during school holidays of leaving, of cooking.
Yeah.
Of making eggs and frying eggs in the middle of the night because we were watching TV. And she would come and, we would then sleep. About 3 in the morning. She would go and check the kitchen and find it's dirty again. She would pull the blankets off of you. Yeah. And of course you're feeling all cold. Yeah. And she'll say, I want my kitchen clean right now. I still remember that like it happened yesterday.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I had this habit of tapping my leg.
Okay.
It's a long life thing. I have to explain to my wife, no, this is how it is. Yeah. It's always been. Don't worry. It's not like I'm nervous. So my mother used to say, stop shaking, man. People will think you are nervous.
So she was trying to fix that. Yeah. Oh no.
But you couldn't. I mean, and I'm 50, still happens. Jeez. Even on the air sometimes.
You would.
But it's what keeps me stable.
Yeah.
If anything, ironic, you know. So I can still, you know, hear her shouting when you do the wrong thing.
Jeez.
And I need to tell you this other story. So I go to university and and my mother says to me, Teflop, they always have the year on a strike. So
how you says, pass is a miracle.
No, when they strike, you must just lock yourself. We kill why not just lock yourself. Now, meanwhile, I'm actually at the forefront. I'm already in the SRC in the first year.
Sure.
And when I came back to do my other studies, which are not as complicated as chemistry and math, I did so many things. I ended up being the vice president of the SRC and all of these things. You know, so you could say I've defied them
completely because she was too far to see.
She was too far. You understand? You know, and one of the things that I really am angry with both my parents now about it is that when I went to university, they let me leave my guitar at home. I used to play guitar in church.
Oh no! And you know, and that stopped.
And we're talking about Silano Seluta, who studied music, and look at him now. I left my guitar at home, man. Now my wife just bought me a piano because I need to play at my 50th.
Yes, and it's coming.
Yeah, I must still go to lessons. It's still in a bubble wrap. I've not opened.
YouTube will solve your problems. You'll learn a few.
You think so?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
No, I just need to practice one song that I need to play at my 50th.
So there's still music inside of you?
No, absolutely. I love music. As you can see, on my TV show, we start with music. On my radio show, I used to play music.
Yeah.
I used to fight with a lot of my bosses because they say, what is this music? You know, I remember at Power on the second day, the MD wrote us a note to say, what's with the music, guys? But they didn't. Yeah, it's just what's with the music, guys? It's a music show, you know. So music just has a special place, really. You know, my parents used to play LPs. You remember LPs?
No, yeah. Here they are. I'm still there's a player.
You know?
Yes.
So this was how we grew up. So if, a song like, is it Bohemian Rhapsody?
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
What was it? I forget the name, yes?
The Queen. Yeah, Queen has a beautiful rendition of that.
Yes.
My mother used to play that on the LP, and it sort of stuck in there.
And it's still there.
You know? So music had a big part of what I do. I try to get meaningful music. I've just discovered Mandisa Janchis, for example. Amazing stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, he's gonna send me an invoice now because I think what I've paid for, I've overused his music.
Really?
Yeah, because I bumped into it. I was actually searching for Muzwake. I wanted a song from the protest song, and then there I come across Janchis YouTube. Called Umzabalas, where he takes those songs we used to sing at the university into beautiful music. So I use them on my show because a lot of them so meaningful in what I have.
Actually, he did the same. Blondie did the same. If you remember.
Oh yes,
in the 90s.
Absolutely my hero, Blondie McKenna. I've also used some of his. In fact, he's been on my shows a lot.
He sat on that very chair a few weeks ago.
Is that so?
Yes.
Beautiful. No. I've got a lot of time for Blondie. He takes me back to the 1989, 1990 at Teflop, when it was not fashionable to play struggle song. and he would come to a stadium, and the stadium would be on fire with him playing for us those struggle songs in those instruments. Beautiful stuff.
We spent so much time with him talking about that era, and he said he discovered how he could get the message across without the words.
Without the words. Just instruments.
And the songs would not be banned by the SABC because they had no words.
They had no idea. Yeah. They don't know where to start.
And it worked so well.
You know? No, absolutely beautiful. I mean, I'm hoping to do a collaboration with him at some point, because I do write poetry.
Okay.
And if you take
create
his music and we put my poetry, it's a winner.
Done. We were talking about the pecking order in the family. First, second, or third?
I'm first. Yeah, I'm first. And my brother, Khabai Piwi, is second. And my sister, Kyorabe Tabane, is third. So the three of us.
I will ask this question, not knowing the answer. Are you a typical firstborn? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means. My brother doesn't recognize that a lot. He says there's only 2 years apart, man. I mean, that can't be so much of it.
He doesn't see it as a big deal.
Not at all. We relate really as equals, really, with my siblings, honestly speaking, you know. Whether it be about family things or family meetings or whatever else. So
and you get along.
We get along famously. You know, there's no issue of saying, "Oh, I'm older, I'm gonna do this." No, we always consensus. You know, about family gatherings and so on. If there is an event in the family or a tragedy in the family, we get together, plan together. Throw our weight in there, bring our wives and husbands into the circle.
The last word, and you say that's
not at all. It will be a huge surprise if that ever happened. I mean, I'm almost 50. My brother is 48 thereabouts. My sister about 45. So we are really in the same generation.
It's the same age.
And by the way, we were born 29, 30, 31, July.
What?
Our birthdays, we used to have 3 cakes in the fridge in that weekend.
So
my sister is 29, I'm 30, my brother is 31, July.
So the parents don't have to go back to the shop. They would just bring them all at the same time.
Just three cakes in the fridge.
What an interesting one.
It is. I suppose they plan too much, these parents.
I was about to ask, because you can't help but acknowledge how they planned it. They must have planned it to the last detail.
Yeah, it's too much.
Bon.
Yeah.
It's that man.
Yeah.
It's not to resolve it in reverse.
Let's make fun of that. Yeah.
You can't ignore it, though. It's so glaring.
It's amazing.
Yes. And now, schooling. Where did you go to school? And describe me that time in your neighborhood in Hebron, because I can easily tell you about it in Mamelodi. But what was happening in that time when you were in high school, in primary?
Yeah, it's sad because that village still almost looked the same as it did in those days. I mean, there used to be a big main road in between the village. They put a little bit of a tarred road now, but it's as you can imagine, this road is badly constructed. It reminds me of how I used to walk to school, because where we were staying was on the other side of the village, and we used to walk to Lerato Primary School, which is on the other side of the village.
Jeez.
Right? So often when I'm home, I take that walk and just see, how did I do this walk when I was,
you were
5 years old?
6 years, yes.
So the only sad part is that there hasn't been much development brought to that village. My father is a librarian, pushed for the library to be built.
Okay.
And when I go home, he always tells me, the library is a substandard. There isn't even a mechanism to control books coming in and out. So people will steal the books.
Yeah, because you don't know if it was ever here.
Yeah. And my father is very pedantic. I mean, he runs his own orchard and garden at home. So when he goes there and finds grass that is almost the size of a building, he gets very irritated.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So that's how I went to school, Lerato. Then we went to class 8, was only standard 5. And then went to Tsoho High School to finish the rest of the secondary school. Yeah. Tsoho High School is in Makau, which is not far from where I was born and bred. Or next to a place called De Veld.
Yes, come on. The Motsepe family.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That was a fantastic, phenomenal school. That also grounded us in serious Christian values. That school was very strict.
And it produced good students, I imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many people who have it as who are alumni of that school, who are doing fantastic work in broader society. So that's my schooling really. I still do. I'm critical a little bit of how it was so sheltered. I mean, in the 80s, mid 80s, you would remember that there was huge riots.
85 UDF. It's during those
all across.
times, yeah.
And there would be strikes and what. So high school didn't entertain that story. When there's a strike, there's no strike, you are coming to school.
Yeah.
So they would simply say, you don't have to wear your uniform.
Just pretend you're
green and gold. No, just wear whatever, and then come to school.
Yeah.
That way you won't be stopped or stoned.
They won't know where you're going.
Or anything.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. So that sheltered us from what on earth was going on. The riots of Kosas and whatever. The second thing was, there was no SRC in that school.
It wasn't allowed.
Prefects.
That's what it is.
Right, and I was one of those prefects. I was a deputy head prefect. If I stand there and see that you are not wearing your uniform, you'll be in trouble with me before the teachers get to you.
You were that difficult.
Absolutely. So when I got to university, I had to unlearn that.
Oh no!
And now understand that the SRC actually represents students,
not the other way around.
Against management, not the other. That. So I'm always angry about that. Is that they misled us on this one.
Yes.
That's why one of the first things I did when I got to university was to be in a disciplinary committee. So I went to look at the prefect system part of the SRC.
And applied it.
And
you were wrong. It was wrong. You wouldn't have made it now. Fees must fall.
No, I would not have. I would have been chased out.
You would have been the wrong person.
But I managed to grow out of that and combine the two things. Have a SRC that says we need a discipline, but at the same time, later on, being the SRC that represents the students. In fact, my office, when I was SRC's vice president, dealt with student bursaries. There used to be a long queue in my office. At
my school, I went to Westville University. Yeah. It was just as militant as Tefloop. So I remember those periods as well of long queues, and we needed free accommodation and everything that comes with it.
Absolutely. I will always be grateful for the SRC. At the university, there was a rule called Rule A19. This rule means if you failed everything, you are excluded from the university.
I remember that. I didn't know the name.
You must go and work.
Yeah.
So, as I was telling you earlier, I failed everything at the first year. Yeah, I failed. Yeah. So essentially, I was supposed to be gone. So I get home, and then they say, no, you're not going back to Tefloop. In any event, you'll be excluded. So I go to UNISA and register at UNISA and stay at home and start studying for my first year of BA degree.
That's it, yeah.
The SRC came to fetch me. I'm not joking with you.
Yeah,
they came to fetch me at home. A chap called Klengani Matebula, who's now chairman of the MDDA, arrived at home to talk to my dad. I mean, this is extraordinary. I didn't ask them to do that.
Yes, all the way.
Yeah, so we can't do without this chap. You have to release him to come back to school. And they will negotiate there to say, well, taking you back, you don't need to register BSc again because you failed.
Yes.
You can register something else. So my parents released me. I still can't believe it.
And you went back.
They don't know these people. And they agreed to release me to say, all right, as long as he registered what he registered at UNISA. Because remember, UNISA starts in January.
Yeah. Immediately.
Now, when it was end of February and I was not showing up, they started wondering where I am and they came to fetch me. And I was already started my studies, I already progressed. I have already submitted my first assignment.
Wow.
With UNISA. And they said, no, we'll release you on condition. You register exactly what you registered at UNISA.
Were they able to apply that? Were you able to move back?
I was able to move back. I went there and I was accepted to a BA degree because the SRC intervened.
Clearly, it has to do with the personality of the militant JJ in the first year.
Absolutely. But that's why I'm saying I didn't ask these guys. I just told them, guys, I failed. I'm not coming back. They said, not on our watch. They came to my home to negotiate with my parents to release me back to university. And I'll forever be grateful. I don't know how they've turned out if I didn't go back and I sat at home and did my degree from home for 3 years, 4 years.
With parents as military as they were, you would have been okay.
But with Asuba, would be okay. But I don't know how it would have turned out. Because what happened is that the fact that I was now back on campus doing BA in Setswana, English, philosophy, and so on, gave me more time, right, than when I did chemistry. With chemistry, not only did you have to do the sciences, and you need to do laboratory work, practicals. It took
too much of your time.
Whereas this other stream of the arts made me able to be an activist in the church, in the student movement, regionally, internationally, and so on. And none of that stuff I would have been able to do that when I was busy with sciences. I don't see how I was going to do it.
It's interesting.
And interestingly, I still got my distinctions in my degrees.
So you did much better.
I did much better. My friends used to say, no, they fear you because when there's nothing like that.
When they mark, what
yeah, why are you getting 80s and 70s? I said, no. I actually, one of the things that I always say, because remember, post my student days, I actually trained SRCs.
Okay.
It's a student leadership program.
Yeah.
And I've always said to SRCs, if you're a student leader, you got to pass.
Be an example.
Be an example. So I used to introduce something that looks like my colleagues in the SRC hated. So in my office, I had office hours on my door. It said, on Mondays, I'm available between 10 and 12. The rest of the time, I'm in class.
Yeah, because you're a student.
Yeah, I can't be in the SRC office when I'm supposed to be in class.
No.
How does that work? It will be rare if I miss a class because I have to go to a meeting with management or whatever. That would be an exception. But generally, in terms of my plan of the week, I know that Tuesdays I'm not in the office because I have classes back to back. But if you need me, you know when to find me.
And these are the times.
And you know that some of my colleagues actually removed that paper that says office hours. I have to replace it many times because they don't understand what is this about.
As far as they're concerned, you should be available whenever you need.
But that's crazy. Yeah. What are you doing? You're at university to study and qualify primarily, isn't it? The rest of the other things are extramural activities. Now, the student leaders who fail their courses turn SRC into the main reason
into a job.
And understand sometimes because there's so much pressure, but it's wrong.
Yeah.
In other universities, they even used to get the SRC president to be on sabbatical.
Really?
Yeah,
because you don't have the time. You don't have the time to do this, to be a student.
And understood, because I understood that only when I became an SRC president at UWC. Because when I got to UWC, I was not in any office and I passed almost all my courses. And then the second year, when I was now SRC president, I failed almost everything again.
Oh, hell.
And my lecturer called me and said, what are your grades are bad? What's happening? I said, no. That's why I sarcastically said to him, would you encourage your students to be in the SRC? And he said, not chairman.
Yeah.
In the SRC, but not chairman. Forget
You're too busy.
Yeah, just take a sabbatical. Because when you are sitting in a class and you literally your mind is ringing about what's on your desk because this student is hungry or expelled or you are solving that or this problem or the management wants to do this or that the students don't like. So it's actually difficult to concentrate in class. So I had to actually finish my term of office in order to actually recover my degree.
Jeez.
My law degree. Otherwise, I would have left there without a law degree. But on the year that I was president of SRC,
you couldn't do much.
On my second term, I couldn't do much studying.
Jeez. You've been in so many universities. Well, UNISA was for very
short. Literally 2 months. I don't think they have my program.
They have nothing.
Yeah.
But in South Africa we have.
But I'm sure they can still find my records. Unlike
because they would.
Ellen Chabala. Remember Ellen Chabala of the SABC? She couldn't find. She couldn't find her records at UNISA.
This is the JJ Omo TV. One goes.
She said they lost her record.
It's not possible.
I'm sure UNISA can find my student number there of 1990 easily. But Ellen Chawala you cannot find a certificate.
I was at UNISA for a few months as well. I changed my mind while I was there, and they would find something. They'll find some papers. Jeez.
Yeah. So I was at UNISA, University of the North, now called University of Limpopo. And I went to UWC. Then
these you were in the student council.
Yeah, at the North, I was in the student. I was the vice president of the SRC there.
Yeah.
Then at UWC, I became president twice. Right? But the first year, the reason I changed universities was because my desk was becoming a flatter, and I said, no, this is not gonna work. Let me go somewhere where nobody knows me. And just put my head down.
That's why you went to Cape Town.
That's when I went to Cape Town. But that only lasted a year.
And then they knew about it.
Yeah, then the comrades said, hey, that guy's hiding there. Then the SASCO comrades at UWC were under fire. They were being chucked out of office by an opposition. So the second year, they then recruited me to say, no, you have to come and help us. That's how I joined SASCO. I joined SASCO actually at the AGM of SASCO. Yeah. And I was made chairman of the local SASCO. And the following year, made president of SRC. And SASCO came back into power.
Do you know the route of people who end up becoming, back in the days, government officials, spokespeople and so forth?
Yes.
The route seems to be almost the same.
Absolutely.
I'll mention Sputla, former mayor of Tshwane.
Yeah.
I'll mention Gigaba. I'll mention Panyaza Lesufi.
Absolutely.
The stories are so identical, and I'm sure I'm missing many.
Yeah.
Figile Mbalula.
Yeah.
The stories are almost identical. Exception is Julius Malema, of course.
It's true. My story is similar. I mean, I finished university, and I've already told you that the baby was on the way, and I had no job.
And you were getting married.
I got married. Now the baby is coming in November. My firstborn. I have no job. I had to be an entrepreneur immediately, going around universities, training SRCs and charging them for it. But that could only literally
last
pay
so
the
long.
rent. And then I got introduced to Minister Vali Musa. Minister Vali Musa in 1998 was looking for a spokesperson.
Okay.
Remember, I didn't study that. I studied law. I studied languages in develop and law at UWC. So at least I'm armed with 2 degrees. But I don't know anything about media liaison. Right? I only know how to be an SRC president.
That's it.
Now, friends of mine, the Nkutlu brothers, Ayanda and Andile Nkutlu, who are late now, introduced me to Vali Musa. Vali Musa is looking for a spokesperson to stand in for his spokesperson who's overseas.
Jeez.
So
what portfolio was he occupying?
He was constitutional development.
Okay.
So at least I was able to say, but my law will come in hand,
yes,
you know.
Yes.
So I go to your interview. The interview lasted 10 minutes. He says to me, "Give me your academic record. Let's see." Oh my God. Then he's looking. He says, "You failed everything in the first year." But I see you recover. Yeah, it's still there. It's permanent. That's what I'm saying. Please don't tell me the dog has eaten your certificate. It's there. The academic record. Despite that I have a PhD now, the first year was fail.
Jeez.
He sees that, but he sees I've recovered. He says, "No, you got good marks for English, for philosophy, for I see your law, your first law degree, law, good, okay. But you've never worked."
We was relatively young
you've
though.
Never worked. I was 25.
Yes.
Right? And I'll tell you a little bit about the 25 thing. Because so he says, "But you never worked." I said, "No, but I've worked." What do you mean I've never worked? I said, "I have worked. I have been an SRC president for 2 years. That's full time. As you should know, as an activist, full time job. I've been a convener of the International Anglican Youth Network for 3 years. I have people working for me in London and in New York. Full-time people who report to me regardless that I was in a dormitory in UWC. So I don't know what full-time work you want. I've worked. He says, "Do you know that you can do a full day's job?" I said, "That's a full day's work."
What do you want to see?
He was fascinated. And actually I got a call to say I must start on Monday.
That's it.
As a spokesperson.
Wow.
So I arrive at the office. The desk is blank. The guy who was the spokesperson didn't leave a report. There was
no
nothing.
handover. Nothing.
So I said, go to him and say, "There's no report." He says, "Yeah, but you said you can do the work." So do it.
So you started from zero.
You know, when I talk about in-service training, I talk about Minister Valim. He taught me everything I know about media, about communication, and so. Right? I remember my first media statement. He looked at it and I said, "No, Chief. I mean, we have to take the Sasko out of you. You can't write like this. You're writing for a minister, man." You know, I mean, we used to write radical statements, when we were student leaders. And now you are writing for a minister of state. You got to be polished.
Very different environment.
You know? The same
where was your office? Were you based in Cape Town? Or you had to move?
Both interesting. We're both in Cape Town and Pretoria. I lived in Cape Town because I just finished studies there.
Yes.
So I assumed that I must report in Cape Town. And I got there was nobody in the office.
I know.
Said, "No, you got to be in Pretoria."
Yeah, I know. The office did around Parliament.
Yeah, I had to go back home and say to my wife, I've got to be in Pretoria for the next 9 days. She says, "Oh God, it has started." I mean, it's your first day.
You already have to go.
And then so I got to work at 2 p.m. because I had started in a wrong office. You know, and the minister, we already launched, but this anecdote will make you laugh. So I get my first media conference. Remember, I didn't study communication.
You don't know.
No clue. No, there was no orientation.
You don't even know who to call.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So I get there. It's a big press conference. We are launching what was called the white paper on local government. So I arrive and I sit with the journalists. It's in a big auditorium there at CSIR. Minister and the DJ arrive at the stage. They look for me. They can't find me.
Because you should be the busy one.
No, I'm sitting with the journalist.
Hey, man.
They conduct the press conference. The DJ actually chairs the conference.
You're supposed to be chairing.
I know.
Yeah.
But I didn't know at that time.
Of course.
So now the conference is over. Then we're having tea and coffee there. And then minister calls me and says, "Come with me." I come with him in his car. Now we're going back to the office. He says to me, The minister does not run his own press conference.
No.
When you get to a conference, you sit in front.
Yes.
With a panel. You introduce the panel, you introduce why we are there, you conduct the Q&A. That's what when I call in-service training, bro. And now I feel like I can go under the car now. I'm embarrassed because
you were useless.
I didn't know I was supposed to be in charge of this thing. Remember, it's my second day at work.
Now I'm glad you know. And to anyone who's joining government communication, you better know it's your meeting.
It's your meeting.
Yes, entirely. You're the one who has to call the guests.
Absolutely. You know, one of the good things about that time, and this was 1998, right? We were just being introduced to the internet. Mm. There was no social media. There was a fax, bruh.
Yeah.
Fax.
Yes.
It is standard the fax.
That funny sound. With a
pile of invitations to a media conference. Fax to each journalist.
Different numbers.
And then call them. Chief, have you received my fax? But no, we didn't.
No.
The paper is finished.
Send it again. Yo.
What did that do? What did that do? It made you know every single journalist by name.
That's it.
Surname, by, their dog and birthday and what.
The relationship became better.
Not sent to all. I mean, right now, if I want to send...
You type name. You don't even type the name.
No, you don't. You have a group. That's a media conference. You just press a button, send to all. You know what happens now with the current communicators, without disrespect to them? They're sending emails to journalists who are dead.
They don't even know.
Journalist is dead 3-4 years ago. They're still receiving emails of because they said send to all.
I like how you say they're dead, but they're still receiving.
Yeah, they're dead. Whereas in my case, I had to phone them.
Yes, and have a personal.
Yeah, and they would attend, and you measure yourself according to how many people have pitched up, because remember we're in Pretoria.
Yes.
Most of the journalists were in Joburg.
The trip is not short.
Yeah, and the current challenges that the communicators are facing, we face those challenges where your principals don't want to communicate. I had to convince my principal. After Vale Musa, I worked for a fellow called Dr. Sidney Muhammad.
I remember him well.
He had a very love-hate relationship with journalists.
Yeah.
So you come to him and say, Chief, can we talk to such and such a journalist? He had a story around each channel. He says, no, that person is useless. Let me tell you the story. When we were in exile, I said, oh no, Chief. Now there's nobody. By the time I got to journalist number 10, he has a story about each of them. Then I said to him,
I liked Sydney. I didn't know.
No. He's brilliant. Yes. Sydney he mustn't fool you about how he slowly speaks. He's one of the most brilliant South Africans.
Absolutely admired him.
I worked for him for only 6 months, but I tell you, I learned a value of more than 6 years of being with him.
Yeah.
Anyway, this anecdote you must hear. So I said to him, Chief, I want us to host a dinner. There was a hotel here called Rosebank Hotel. I don't know what happened to it. We had to host a dinner of journalists there.
So you can build relations.
Yeah, so we go there, he agrees. Interesting. So we go there, we have this dinner, and he's brilliant. And journalists are eating out of his hand.
Yeah.
Then I said to him, Chief, this was a very good feedback. I want us to do the same thing in Cape Town.
Okay.
We are based in two.
Yes, too.
He says, no, but we've just done this thing. I said, no, but you need to repeat the message.
Yes.
I said, no, they will tell them.
Oh, no.
They will tell them. No, they won't tell them. They are different journalists. So you see now.
Yeah,
literally part of the work of communicators
is to convince.
To convince the principal, to educate them about a new culture of communication.
Wow.
You understand? There are still principals like that. Like
Tulas
Ngesi. Instead of coming to the show to answer, he writes to the BCCA to say this guy's gone beyond the freedom of expression. He cannot,
because he can justify all the things accusations on a proper interview.
Yeah, the BCCA told him to go away, and I repeated what I said. You are incompetent. You must come and answer.
Do you find that, as you put it, they're so different? The breeds of communicators are so different. Do you find that there was learning from these Sydney Mufumadi, many others, made you appreciate this a little more than you would have if you were a communicator now?
It's true. I mean, not everything was so bad about communication in those days. I mean, Joel Netchenges remains the best GCIS
executive
we've ever had.
Yeah.
And what was the training except...
Yes, he was a cadre, and he was
being a cadre, being Radio Freedom, whatever. Not a formal educate,
communicate.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, and I spent a little bit of time on this in my PhD, it's all about investment in relationships.
Yeah.
You understand? When I was a youngster of 25, right, and met somebody like Jovial Randau, who was at that point
he was
a young journalist in Parliament. Fast forward 20 years from there, he was the big editor of the Star.
Yes.
Right? Who said to me, why are you writing about communication? Let's turn you into a social commentator. That relationship of 20 years came in. Now I moved from having to beg editors for space to write to fielding calls from editors saying, what do you have this week? Can
is there anything?
Can you write something this week or any of your clients? Jeez. Now that can only happen with relationship. You're not begging for space.
Nope.
They know you don't give them nonsense.
Yeah.
You give them proper things, properly researched things.
Yes.
So they will come to you because editors are hungry in this town even
they need
for good written material.
Yeah.
You know, and I had my share of my pieces being rejected. You know, a tough editor like Makudi Sefar is one of the toughest editors in this town.
Do you know, Jovial? Interesting. We crossed paths as well. I was a producer at Metro FM. For the first 7 years or so of my professional radio career.
Yeah.
I used to produce Just Ice in the morning.
Yeah.
And I would call Jovial every evening.
Yeah.
Because he was a night editor of the Star at the time.
Yeah.
To find out what was happening in the morning, because my radio training said breakfast shows at the time, there was no internet, had to break the story.
Yeah.
When the newspaper is carrying it, you must have all the people involved in that story.
Absolutely.
You already
interviewing them.
Exactly.
So they can talk to the story.
Absolutely. So I would, Jovial would say, tomorrow we're running with. I used to feel like a hero. I knew the news before it happened. Tomorrow we're running this and running this and running this. Here's this guy, call so and so and so.
Yeah.
It's fine. I've already told him, because we literally did that for good 2-3 years when he was a night editor at the Star. And it's interesting how you make reference to him as well.
Absolutely. He's one of the people I'll always be grateful for in terms of my writing career, because before I got into radio and TV, I used to write tough opinion pieces.
Yes.
And he gave me my second break. My first break I got from a guy called Siya Koza, who was a City Press business editor. I used to write pieces there about communications and what. And then Jovial says, no, let's make you social, comment about everything. Don't comment about just write.
Widen your spectrum.
You know, and of course, then I then graduated to write for the Daily Maverick. Now I've got upwards of 300 opinion pieces on Daily Maverick.
That's a lot.
So my first book, I got a call from a publisher saying, we like your letters. My letters called Let's Talk Frankly.
Let's read the Frankly letters. I know that. 5 years ago.
Let's do a book. But don't give us those letters. Just write fresh ones.
Okay, new letters.
New letters. So I wrote new letters, 22 new letters to influential South Africans. For my book.
Okay.
The ones in Daily Maverick are to all and sundry.
Yes, they're gone.
Yeah, they are gone. They were short letters, but they were tough letters. The only person ever in this country who's ever said, please write me a letter, is Fikile Mbalula. Everybody else don't like the letters.
Interesting. In my preparation from this, because I read up a lot on the letters.
Yeah.
And the psychology of why you felt the need for letters.
Yeah.
And part of the insight has a lot to do with frankness of our conversation.
Absolutely.
Do you think we have a problem with that as South Africans?
No, we do. In fact, I say that in my book, that there's a point in which while there's freedom of speech, people still censor themselves.
Which is what I wanted to find out. Yeah. You look at us as South Africans and in the rest of Africa, and you say, you are the most freest of all Africans. You say whatever you want without, you get a BCCSA, and they throw the minister out of there and say you're crazy.
I've been lucky, because despite what you may think, when you see me ranting, I'm not mad. I do my research.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'm inundated by South Africans who give me all the facts I need to do what I do. Yeah. In fact, I was saying that if they want to get rid of me, all they must do is come and touch my study.
They'll get a lot of information.
Yeah. The reason why none of them, not one of these politicians, have managed to sue me, and I've been on air for like 8 years, is because when I rant there, I rant based on facts. Yeah. There is a lot of opinion to it, but it's not wild.
You're not just thumb sucking.
So I've won all my cases at the BCCSA, whatever they've
And
tried.
I'm sure you had many.
I've got several, not so many, but
several is a big number.
It's more of maybe the spokesperson calling me to say, how can you do this to my minister? Especially in those letters.
Yeah.
Those letters, very few people, only Musi Maimane and Helen Zille attempted to reply to those letters.
I wanted to find out because the letters were open letters in a book.
Yeah.
And naturally, a letter you expect is like, I love you. It's like, I love you. You wait for the response. So were you waiting? And were you waiting? Did you wish for a response?
I did. And the response came in different. So I'm saying the two where they actually wrote a letter back was Musi Maimane and Helen Zille. Helen Zille got his spokesperson to write. The others call me to say, how can you say this? And so I said, no, go and write. Don't call me.
Oh, no.
Or I get called by
go and do what I just did.
Or I get called by the handler, or I get called by either a friend of that person, And that happens also with the TV show. For example, a friend of Minister Gigaba,
you would still get that even
called
now.
Me. I'll tell you what example. So to say I oppressed him because he was a minister of finance and he came to my show. And then after the show, which I thought was a good conversation, but because there was a Gupta questions and what at those times, and they didn't want to be asked that, I couldn't care less. You see the way you call me to interview, that's how I call my guests. We're going to talk about
anything and everything.
So please,
if
you want me to give you a theme, how long is the piece of string? I can give you many things. I want to talk about everything, because it's 2 hours, or you can't put everything out of anything off the table. So I do get response, in many ways, even a hostile response. Somebody like my friend Leboha Maile, and they will an insult in my inbox to say get all shy, get all traba, basically. Like that.
But surely you are peers, former communicators in government.
He was not. People like that don't like to be criticized. There's a level of politicians who don't like to be criticized. They actually don't like it.
Yes.
They're supposed to have a thick skin that they don't. If I say to you, your department is corrupt,
yes,
you must go and sort it out,
or you must prove me wrong.
And they all 100% fail to prove me wrong. They always threaten, we'll sort you out, we'll expose you. In fact, you were in COPE. So what if I was in COPE? It's a free country.
Yes.
Why can't I form my own political party? Because you are in any event failing.
Yes.
And if I fail, I'll try again. There's no problem.
Yeah.
But they think that they have to use that as some sort of a scarecrow or a monkey on your back that, there's a point in which you gave up on the ANC. And I don't think too many people blame me now for giving up on the ANC.
Yes. It's interesting about your book, Talking Frankly. It also makes reference to the lack of democracy within political parties.
Absolutely. Not only within political parties, within many sectors of society. Right? In political parties, like a recent example, I don't have to give you an example of 1930. Just last week, a chap wrote a letter to Scopa to say President must come and account. He was suspended.
Yes.
I said to Lechisa Chinoli on my show, why suspend the guy? He says, no, it's not me. They like to say that. It's not me. It's the caucus leaders. Now he can't even answer.
Because it doesn't make sense that suspension.
So there is, and I always make example of Sister Bena Ngube, Father Smugglerism Culture, Ben to Rock. Those people followed their conscience. When the ANC was doing the wrong thing in Parliament, they followed their conscience to do the right thing.
That's it.
And we need more people like that who understand that the party is not more important than the country.
But while we need more people like that, we need an environment that is welcoming of people like that. Because him getting fired proves that, or getting suspended proves that the environment doesn't allow for that.
We have to create the environment, because at the end of the day, it's about your mission. What do you want to do in this country to make a difference, right? And you choose a path. You may choose a path of being part of a political party, but once you are there, do you then assimilate into the wrong thing, or do you stand out to do the right thing?
Which one is it? You
understand? I mean, the entire caucus of the ANC did not question the fact that 300 people died on the watch of a minister of defense, and the only thing that happened to that person was that she was promoted.
Hey.
to be a Speaker of Parliament. I tell me, there's not even one person who questioned this to say, guys, how can you do this?
What do you think is wrong with us? Because I see your frustration. You're saying, but come on, the children haven't eaten, but no one is doing anything about it. And that is frustrating from your perspective. What do you think is wrong with us at the core of us as not only South Africans?
It's a collapse of a value system and collapse of morals in a country. Right? That's why we are in court now, because somebody killed a woman who's 8 months pregnant and hanged them from a tree.
That's it, yeah.
It's become a daily diet to listen. And when I get on to set and Sally Badet and Shahan get off, the other day were saying it was so depressing in news bulletin today. We're talking about sexual harassment
and killing.
And MEC of the state in Cape Town is suspended because of sexual harassment. He's been grooming young girls for years.
Today's report, they're saying they're not sure what this is all about. I can remember they're trying to spin
you understand?
Yes.
Body parts are found in a fridge in South Africa, and the sun just rises and sets. No issue.
Yeah, 100 and so million is stolen by a government minister.
Oh no, that one is daily bread. When the Auditor General comes with the report, we are no longer outraged. He says 160 billion rand has been wasted by state-owned enterprises. Yeah. Nobody even says, but who's the minister responsible for these damn things?
No one. We don't seem to be losing sleep.
Have you heard Pravin on a radio interview accounting to anybody in this country? Pravin Gordon, who's in charge of all these SOEs that are failing.
Are you saying then that with the decay of our morality, essentially, surely there must be South Africans who are saying we can't take this? Yeah. Or are you saying we are now, as South Africans, getting used to it as well?
Yeah, we're numb to it. The things I'm mentioning now, in other democracies, would be treasonous stuff.
In Kenya, they just arrested power officials because there was no electricity for 10 days.
Here the CEO of Eskom says, I must, just get used to load shedding. And now,
around it.
Unlike the past where he promised it was going to be over, he says the system has humbled him. He's not going to promise any such thing. We'll just live with what's coming.
Wow.
Okay? Minister of so-called employment goes to BCCSA to say he mustn't be criticized when we're 45% unemployment rate in this country. In other countries, if he had 10% unemployment, he'll be fired. He'll be fired. Now he's prancing around. He's showing us movies of Nkandla and the pool and the fire pool, and then says, how dare I bring him into the Nkandla matter? Can you believe he said that?
Yeah.
When everybody knows that he was Minister of Public Works
at the time.
He went to Parliament to present to the reports that says that thing is okay. And now today he wants me to rewrite history in my face.
Do we have a short memory as South Africans?
No, our memories are very short. That's why I like the internet, because I see people, put a clip of me in 2020 before the lockdown.
Still there.
Saying, watch them, they're going to steal PPE monies.
Yeah.
Last week a report has come out that shows that billions were stolen.
Yeah.
And people at that time said, this guy's mad now. He's lost it completely now. How does he think that people can steal in the face of a pandemic? They stole thick and fast. No less than a minister of health.
Everyone, essentially.
Stealing cash and carry. Millions. Right? When he's supposed to be making sure that we duck the bullet of the pandemic.
So our memories are short as South Africans. It brings me to the next question. Are we not militant enough to fight against what seemingly is a collapse of a government system? Because we talk about it and very little. We tweet about it. We raise our fists on Twitter and then we move on.
No, activism is dead. Activism is dead. It's very sad. A couple of months ago, I invited a couple of black executives, right, who work in corporate sector, and said, guys, I want to talk about transformation in the corporate sector. I had 25 deadlines.
Yeah, but
I'll be out of a job.
You.
Right? When I work for a corporate which will remain nameless, but can be easily found out. I was the only black person in the room, right? And every time I came to a meeting, it was a war about transformation and what. And
that was you championing this war,
right? So I understand what those people are talking about.
Yeah.
Right, when they don't want to come because they have to go back to work on Monday after they were on my show saying this company is failing to transform. So the activism is not just against what's happening in government, even in the private sector. If you look at the latest report released by the Department of Labor last year and another report released, the same report over 10 years ago, it says despite affirmative action, 70% of people who are promoted today are white people. 70% of new appointments are to white people in many corporates in this country. It's a scandal. And there are blacks who are in those companies who are receiving big bonuses, and those people pay, They pay big bonuses. They pay you to a point where you say, hey, I can't lose this.
Yeah, I can't. I have to just keep.
So I have to choose between my bonus, which is millions, and being seen to be a hero who's trying to change things. So they just choose to say, listen, I have a corner office with one person reporting to me who's my PA. Frankly, I couldn't care. When I got to some of those corporate jobs, I was embarrassed at some of the reports that I found there of people who were there before me.
Then we surely are aware of it. You're not the only one who's aware of this. And very little, including a government who's supposed to do something physically about it. And nothing is happening. And what is the future of our own kids who are coming on to this scenario that something that we could have fixed and we did
nothing?
Think
nothing is happening. I just think we're not moving at the relevant pace because people who have the capacity to do something are also comfortable.
Are we conscious of the agency of fixing this country?
No, that's what I'm saying. People who are supposed to, who have the capacity to understand what is going on, are comfortable. I had a full-on discussion with Tito Mboweni.
I saw that.
He said to me, there's no problem. I don't know what you're talking about. You'll be too depressed, man.
He said that.
Yeah, if you look at the macroeconomy, you're too depressed. Just look at micro. There's no unemployment here. And he says, if I go and look at, and he gave a few examples of places where the economy is thriving. But if you average it out, he says, you'll be too depressed.
Yeah.
I don't buy that. I think the wheels are coming off on our economy and we need to do something drastic. And I thought when I went to talk to him, because he's now out of government, he'll be freer to tell me
what he really thinks.
Yeah, I was disappointed in that sense.
Yeah.
That he thinks all is fine. But, maybe he's a millionaire. I'm not sure. If I was a billionaire, I would probably not care. So the issue is, right, you and I, who are supposed to, who have our heads above the board, we're not starving, we're okay.
Yeah.
Right? Who are the ones similarly who could actually make a difference if we decided that it's enough. But I'm not giving up. If you look at what happened in the elections, we had, I think there were about 400 independents. That's a very good...
Some would say it polarizes the system, it wastes votes, as some would say. The debate even...
Yeah, but we have to start somewhere. Because we are tired of political parties because all they think about is themselves. So we need to break that. So part of breaking that is that in the future there must be a direct election system where you represent the constituency. There could be a presidential system in the future where you can stand for president if you want.
All on my own.
All on your own. And then you put up your own cabinet and be able to have the guts like the president of Malawi who fired his whole cabinet.
Yes.
Here they'll murder the person the following day if he did that.
And that's what happens now in our country.
Yeah, no, the assassinations.
Yes.
Let's not even talk about that, right? Thirdly, I'm not giving up. I think there's a lot of hope there in terms of young people who are doing interesting things, etc. All of us must do something in the corner where we have an influence. And then collectively in the future, we may have a different country, right? Just 2 weeks ago, there was a launch of an organization called the Rivonia Circle, led by a fellow called Songezo Zibi, and a few other people like Tessa Dooms, etc. Right? And they are planting a seed that says you need citizen action. Right? If we wait for political parties, we'll wait until Jesus comes back. Right? So each of us must do something.
In our little corners.
Yeah, and there's no excuse. You can't. There's no, sector of society that's excluded. So, for example, and I had a big debate on the media with some colleagues about whether journalists must be so holy that they can't touch anything because they'll be seen as biased. I said, no, to hell with that. Myself and Lukwana Mguni wrote a letter to Parliament. The two of us, we're not mandated by anyone. We just talked and said, this cannot happen on our watch. Let's write a letter to Parliament and say, are you seriously promoting Mapisa Ngakula to be speaker?
Did you get a reaction?
I don't know when last you wrote a letter to a government official. Usually you have to wait for 3 months. But they replied in a day to say, no, it's not us, it's them. In other words, they said, we don't know what you're talking about.
It's
that is still going to nominate.
Yeah.
So you can't write to... So we're
writing to the wrong place.
We're trying to interdict Parliament.
And they're saying it's not us.
Please don't do that. Yeah. This week I asked the Speaker of Parliament to say, were you consulted when the President decided to appoint the Speaker of Parliament as his cabinet minister? He says, no. It's got nothing to do with us. I said, were you consulted?
Yeah, at least.
So this is what happened. Another arm of the state decided to appoint the head of another arm that is supposed to oversee them to come and be their subordinate and take a failed minister who's incompetent
and promote,
who just killed 300 people under their watch and promote them to be the head of this institution that must oversee them. It must be a joke, man. I mean, who can Mapisa Ngakula oversee, man?
I every time you describe these moments, and now that I'm looking at you here, I realize you really mean these things. I realize you really mean these things because you do exactly what you do.
Honestly, man,
your frustration.
It's terrible. But the issue is about express. This is what we would talk if I was in Hebron under a tree.
You would say the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not trying to just be a hero. I'm trying to express the frustration of people who talk to me, who bombard me on WhatsApp and Facebook every day about. I can't even get to all the complaints about service delivery, about corruption in municipalities and so on that are sent to me.
Something that I wonder, and I've created a thing with this podcast where I ask people to give advice to certain things, but I wanted to change it slightly differently for you and do predict the future based on your perspective of a few things in South Africa, starting with the future of the ANC.
No, the ANC is finished, and it has to go back to a drawing board. You need a new ANC. Yeah, literally. That's why I always make a reference, and it causes ruckus all the time. Then I quote what Kgalema Motlanthe said. Kgalema Motlanthe said the ANC must lose an election in order to understand, to renew itself. Because once it does that, the people who are there for wrong reasons or nefarious reasons or corrupt reasons will leave to go and find the largesse somewhere else, and they can start from scratch. And that's my prediction of what must happen to the ANC. It's not far from the reality if you look at the fact that they've just lost the local government elections. They say they've even lost because they're 45%. I mean, that's only believing your own propaganda, really. If it was a national election, they would be out of the union buildings.
That's it, with that number.
And they need a miracle to get to 50 again in 2024. 2024 is in 2 years' time. They need a miracle.
Factional fights within the ANC surely must
kill the ANC. That's what's going to kill the ANC because the factions are so deep right now, right? And by the way, the first salvo has already been shot by Lindiwe Sisulu. You understand?
Very publicly.
Yeah, saying that the constitution is useless, it's a piece of paper that doesn't mean anything. But she's been there for 25 years. She's been in parliament since 1994.
One of the longest serving
failing ministers in many portfolios and so on. Now today she's seeing the light. And now she wants to be the president, apparently.
Do you think she's seeing the light, or this is just a game?
It's just politics, but she's seeing a light. What? She should retire, man.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is she? She must. I'm gonna expect new ideas from her. Honestly,
the future of the EFF.
Look, the EFF will remain in the margins. It's at 10%, and really, their ideas are hard to swallow. So they are not going to be a 50% party, but they are necessary. You understand? They are absolutely necessary. The other day I was joking that I would probably have been an EFF member if I just knew what the policy is, because look at the policy is whatever Julius thinks on the day. And that's my problem. I think I'll be fired from the EFF very quick, because I'll say, no, but that's not what we discussed in the meeting last week. Julius says every foreigner must cross the border with all means necessary. Yeah. Just 2-3 months ago,
I know.
when Motsoaledi closed the borders, you remember? He says even if they swim through the Crocodile River, let them do that. Fast forward January, he says he goes to a restaurant to ask how many foreigners were. What for? Again, you said they must cross the border.
Yes, they must get work.
So why does it matter how many are hired in the restaurant?
So you're saying...
You see my problem?
No, I get it. Yeah. So they call it flip-flopping, and others
That's what it is.
But others saying, once you know, as a smart person, you are better informed to change your mind.
But this is not changing your mind.
What is this?
You're saying cross the border with all means necessary.
Yeah.
Right? And the person listens to you and crosses the border. And when they are here, you say, you can't be hired. I mean, what is that? That's not, you understand? It's illogical. We must be very clear. I admire the EFF's approach on Pan-Africanism to say these borders are fake, these borders are imposed on us, they are not needed.
Imperial design.
But you can't say that in the same sentence as saying, oh, by the way, but at the restaurant, please don't hire the foreigners, too many foreigners. What's the point?
Do you find that South Africans, we've created this demagogueness of leadership who uses people's needs and to gain popularity?
That's the nature of politics. It's not just here; it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You can go to any any place in the world.
Yeah.
You're always gonna take politicians with a pinch of salt. Number one, you must never worship politicians. Interestingly,
do we find that we do that?
No, we do.
Yeah.
And politicians expect to be worshipped. If I show you some of the messages from the ministers in my phone, you'll be shocked.
There was one yesterday, an audio clip of Minister Gwede Mantashe saying,
oh my God. Did you see? Did you see that?
I saw it. I actually got a clip.
Yeah, it's terrible. But that's not even the worst thing he said this week.
Yeah.
He said about the Lily Mine people, families. What support do they need? Mr. Minister, under whose watch 3 black miners have been trapped under a mine for 1,000 days.
Yeah.
And he should be ashamed of himself to ask on national television.
What support do they need?
Yeah, if it was his relatives who were below that mine, would he ask that? Probably not. Eh? So anyway, I was saying to you, Julius Malema says to Justice Malala on his show when he still before he banned ENCA, we're banned now. We can only talk behind his back because there's no one to come and talk to us. He says to Justice Malala, you see, you guys worship Ramaphosa, and you are going to regret it.
Okay.
So he was right because we're all very excited.
About
all of us.
Ramaphosa.
We were. I'll be lying to say I wanted NDZ to win. I said, no, it's going to be a disaster. Please, can you save us from NDZ? And I said, this is the better of both evils. Yes. Let's give him a chance. Tumamena, let's go.
What has gone wrong with him?
I think that I can't. I'm not a political scientist. I can't claim to know, anything in his head of what's going on. But I think at the heart of it is that he plays too much of a balancing act. When you are a leader, you have
to take a side.
You got to take a stance.
Yeah.
You can't sit on the fence and expect things to solve themselves. You understand? So when I ask him, but why didn't you fire Zweli Mkhize? He can't give me a straight answer. Why did you wait for him to resign? You had a report for more than 3 months, and if your intelligence is slightly intelligent, they would have told you this guy's been stealing for months before there was even a report.
Yes.
So you could have called him long ago to say, Chief, I'm firing you. I need you to resign today, and that's it. They always want to dignify theft. Why should he be dignified? He stole, and he must go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And nobody was going to blame him for doing that. But because he's thinking, his KZN will be so angry with me. And I don't know that bought him anything, that still Zweli is gone. Apparently he wants to stand at the ANC.
Be a president as
honestly speaking,
Do you think ANC members still believe that they stand a chance to lead, to run the country?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everything is possible in politics.
So there's still a chance?
There's still a chance, unfortunately. Because until you and I do something, how many people didn't vote this past election?
No, almost half of the voting population.
Yeah, not more than half. Because only the ones who registered. There were some who didn't even register. Didn't bother.
That's true.
You understand?
Yeah.
If even half of those people went to the polls, the ANC would be at 40%. You understand? So if we go along this route where we are checking out of politics,
which is what's happening,
we're gonna get the government we deserve. And I'm not just saying that. I talked about this on my show a couple of weeks ago, where there's a municipality I think it's a municipality in Tswaying, right? A colleague of mine sent me pictures of the horror of the place there. Sewage spilling into the graveyard.
What?
Okay, so even if you are dead, you still have the think of corruption following you.
You still get bad service.
Do you know what percent people in that municipality voted the ANC? 65%.
Wait,
they still went to vote the ANC despite that the sewage is spilling in their streets and into their ancestors.
Here's another political science question. Why is that? Why do they still vote?
No, there's that issue about historical lineage. It's not an easy thing, and it's not unique to us. You have to look.
You find it in many countries.
You have it in many countries, but even in those countries, eventually, people will wake up.
Yeah. And a generation
and
will
understand
wake up.
that they've got the power. That Mandisi Chanji's song that says, Amandla seed. We got the power and you must go and exercise it. Know that these politicians are your servants. It will happen. But we have to brighten the corner where we are. I had to remind the two ministers this week. No, 3, I think.
Yeah.
They will just think I have something against them, but I don't. To say you are a public servant. Minister Sisulu, who is very petulant, it's not even the first time. You remember when there was a checks that were banned. And people said, but the checks were banned 3 weeks ago. You said you're going to come there. You've never come there. And she told whoever was asking him to go away. Right? This week she says to me, I'm not going to come there because you are very reckless with people's names. So I'm not going to come to you and talk to you. Just go away. If anything, you don't check your facts. What do you feel if I said you are a serial rapist? This is now a message from a minister of state to me. I said, Minister, you are a public servant. It shouldn't be so difficult to talk to you, man, as a citizen. Yeah. Come on. Anyway,
we shouldn't be begging for
them. It's not a favor. It's not a favor. And I'm grateful for ministers who understand that.
Yes.
I mean,
which minister understands that?
Well, I mean, somebody like Minister Mbalula has been to my shows, even if it was not so good. I don't know whether you saw in the.
I've seen one or two with him. Yeah,
it was very bad. It was very bad for you, but he still
kept on going.
He still came.
Where he got some facts wrong.
Yeah,
but he still carried on.
Yeah, no. I like the fact that he's open to come and engage. Deputy Minister Butima Lamela has engaged with me many times. Ministers like. Minister Naledi Pandor is often in the press and has not refused to come and talk to us. I can make a list. There's a lot of ministers who really understand that part of what they need to do is to communicate. Minister Tabane, I really have a lot of time for Minister Tabane, who's the Minister of Communication. So she's been very quiet over the last few months, but I think it's because of a lot of work. Her communications, that's the one you always are guaranteed she's going to be fired. You just said it's when it's going to happen. Any minister who's in charge of the SABC is likely to be fired at some point.
Actually, they don't stay long. Trust me, I've been with the SABC long. I've seen them come and go.
You understand?
It has to be the most.
So there are ministers who understand it. It's not a hopeless situation.
Yeah.
There are those who understand truly that part of doing work is to be able to be available. Because when you talk to me, you're not just talking to me. You're talking to the millions of people who may be watching, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes ministers who are rude don't understand that. If they are rude to me,
there's an audience.
Yeah, I'm just a facilitator.
Yeah, you'll take it.
I may be a hot-headed facilitator, fine, but you need to be able to see past that and talk to your
yes. You must actually. They must speak through you.
Absolutely.
And speak to the people that are watching.
And that's what I miss about the radio. That actually sometimes the actual listeners will call in and deal with this politician directly. I love that more than TV, which is too much of a show and and a one-way.
There's lights and there's all of that. The future of Black South Africans.
Man, that's a big. We need the 2 hours for that. I don't know how much time we still have.
Not much.
We
10
don't have
minutes.
much time.
10 minutes, actually.
Yeah. So I think black consciousness needs to be revived because there's too much black hatred
amongst.
Yeah. There's too much black hatred. I was just telling you now about the fact that I was in Kenya, invited to facilitate an international meeting. I don't think I would be invited to facilitate a communicators meeting in Pretoria here.
Yes, up the road.
You understand?
Yeah.
Mutunzi Mdwaba is who was the vice president of the International Labour Organization, received a letter from his own cabinet here, led by Thulas Nxesi, saying they don't support him to be the DG. Why? Because maybe he's not an ANC psychopath.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Right? When the deputy president, former British president Phumzile Mlambo was given that job as UN Women, South Africa objected. Why? Because she was in the wrong side of politics.
Jeez.
She had just joined COPE. She was seen as an Mbeki, right? The UN ignored that. The same way that the new Africa Trade Agreement organization ignored South Africa with the current guy who's the General Secretary. He's a South African.
Yeah.
South Africa didn't support that candidate.
Yes.
So South Africa doesn't understand.
So you're saying amongst Botaki, there's a problem already.
There is a black hatred which I don't understand, you know. And sometimes it still shocks me, even if I've seen it many times. It still shocks me that somebody sat in a meeting and said, "Can we deal with this Tabane? I'm told that he's looking for work at the African Union. Can government please stop him?" Why? Why must government stop me? I mean, I'm a citizen of the world.
Yes,
couldn't care what the government thinks of me, frankly. You understand? We fought for freedom in this country so that I can do exactly what makes me feel free.
Are South Africans free?
No, South Africans are as free as they want to be. But as long as we keep ourselves in bondage, so we will remain.
So the freedom, we are the ones that are limiting it.
No, we are.
Yeah.
You know, I don't buy this. The Constitution is such a terrible document. That's rubbish. That Constitution is written very well. It's us who must activate it. Let me tell you something that will shock you. In the Constitutional Court, as we speak now, there is no less than 20 to 30 cases that are concluded.
What?
About government not doing what it's supposed to do to implement the Constitution. You think it was only Zuma who was in contempt of court? Half of these DGs could be in prison if I have my way, and I'm coming for them. We're going to go there, we're going to dust off. I'm not going to spend a lot of money on lawyers because that's already done. The Constitutional Court is already pronounced. The same way they pronounce about toilets in Khayelitsha for the Western Cape government to say that's inhuman. There are many cases like that deals with second generation rights. And we are going to dust off those cases. We're going to go after those ministers who are responsible for not implementing those things. Right? And those who are going to go to prison. They are going to go to prison. If Zuma could go to prison, they will go.
So you're saying, if I was to ask the future of JJ Tabane, you would say, well, almost immediately you're going against government.
I'm not against government. Actually, interesting. Government is my client on many things. Remember, besides what I'm doing,
there's a business.
I've got a business. I run. I advise people who want to listen to my advice.
Yeah.
You know, those who don't.
And government is as a client.
Yeah, not only here, everywhere in the continent.
Yeah.
You understand? So I've got a business I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm going to launch even more businesses before I take my last breath. I'm an editor now of Leadership Magazine and BBQ. I'm busy looking at acquiring a media stable that owns those magazines and others, amongst other things.
Okay.
Right? We're looking at an international television station that will launch in 2 or 3 years' time. So I'm busy, but we're busy building this country, right? And anyone else who thinks they can stand on the way of that, they better be joking. I'm not going to fold my arms and and be afraid to call it out when it's wrong. By the way, it doesn't make me perfect at all, because people always say, yeah, but what about you? You worked for Mutambi. I said, so what? Yeah, I worked for him. I worked for her. I run a business that advises people, but I don't force people to take my advice.
Interesting, because I have it as part of my question.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you come across as this self-righteous guy who knows and say, no, turn left. No, why did you turn right?
Yeah.
But you're not, as you said it, you're not perfect.
No, I'm not perfect
and
at all.
the Faith Mutambi moment, because as an SABC employee, Faith Mutambi was there when we were working there. What were the challenges? And I asked this very frankly.
This was a very simple thing, right? I'll tell you a quick story. So I applied to be the CEO of GCIS.
The opportunity was there.
I applied like everybody else. I was shortlisted, and myself and the late Ronnie Mamwepa and one other candidate were the people who were there, and eventually it was just me and Ronnie, and that was a point of deadlock, because the so-called deployment committee deliberated on that and could not agree, because they were split. This one is too stubborn, that one is too old, whatever the case was.
Yes.
So that matter sort of was frozen until Mutambi came. Mutambi then was appointed Minister of Communications and called me and said, hey, please come and help me. I see you are shortlisted. Right?
Okay.
At that point, I'm actually a consultant for Brand South Africa, which reports to her. That's how I got to work for her. I didn't know her from a bar of soap, and I was an advisor by accident, really.
It's you were right place, right time.
And I said, no, let's call 50 top communicators in this country for you to come and listen to them. We produced a report for her. We gave her that report. That report is gathering dust. Each time a new minister of communication is appointed, I make a point of writing them an email and say, attach, please find. Because the things that are in there are still relevant today. In fact, some of them are even in my own PhD.
They're more relevant now than ever.
And they're not even complicated. It's just going back to basics. That's how it happened with Mutambi. Now, whatever she was doing with the Guptas, that had nothing to do with me.
That's true. You're no such a Malian.
Not at all. No. And I had no problem with her. She's quite a nice lady who just happened to be in the wrong place, whatever else. But in fact, while she was inarticulate, she actually was one of the most informed people in communication because she was an MP in that portfolio for 5 years before she was appointed minister.
Yes. So she was quite clued up.
Yeah, she was quite clued up. There's, you sometimes don't judge a person by just looking at them and thinking that they're inarticulate. That's not the way to judge people, But I don't regret for the work I did there when in her presence because I did my professional duty to advise. It's not my job to force a minister
not to go to
not
a meeting
to be
with
corrupt or not to take the advice. You understand?
Yeah.
So people have they get confused. The same way there's people. I mean, somebody who's a handler of Miss Sisulu said to me, how would you feel if we just brought up your COPE history? I said, I don't care. I'm proud of my COPE history. Somebody had to overtopple the ANC, and I don't mind. By the way, I do that regularly around the world. I was part of overtoppling the Lesotho government at some point and helped to start the ABC. In Lesotho in 2006 from scratch where they didn't even have a logo. In the election of that year, the Lesotho people for the first time saw billboards and things like that. We were on horseback in the mountains distributing pamphlets and doing that. It's something that I do easily. In Kenya, I at some point worked to help Odinga, when he wanted to be president then, and many other examples. So it's not just here. Overtoppling governments that don't work is a hobby for me.
And you seem to enjoy it.
I enjoy it greatly.
The future of Jacob Zuma.
No, Jacob Zuma must retire. I mean, I was talking to some
court
people
every day.
Saying, they are thinking he may stand as president. I don't understand what that's
about. That's unlikely.
Yeah. Jacob Zuma has played this role, whether you like it or you don't. Right, as an elder of this country, he's had some missteps, but he's done, he contributed to the liberation struggle and so on. And if he had good advice, those advisors would tell him to take it easy. He's got cases to answer, and that should occupy whatever is left of his life so that he can rest easy. Not, he must come back. I think he must stand as president. I mean, honestly, this is exactly what destroyed Mbeki. Instead of retiring, he wanted a third term, and he gave us Zuma. In the process.
The famous Limpopo conference.
You understand?
Yes, the famous moment of what were they challenging about the counting of the votes? You remember that moment? Whether they should be electronic or
you always want to count. You want to see every ballot.
Yes, exactly.
Because you can't trust anything.
The machines.
Yeah, when it comes to power, you can't trust too much. You must count one by one.
We all remember that moment.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your life slightly because talking to you can't help spend so much time in the political world, and we have little time left because you did indicate that you have time pressure. How do you see yourself? And I say this because it's a tricky question. To have an out-of-body experience and look at yourself and say, what a demand. What do you say when you look at you?
No, I haven't done that exercise. But I've always said to people, who are close to me and so on, I've done all I needed to do. Yeah. Everything else from here onward is a bonus.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not going to, I've had,
and you're still young to be saying that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, but how quickly did Biko die?
Well, that's true.
But we're still talking about him today. In fact, one of my books that's coming up is letters to our ancestors like Biko. Because in 100 years' time, when people read it, they won't even know whether I was next to him or not. Yeah. Or it was a fiction.
Or you were around the same time.
Yeah. So you are in the world to impact.
Yeah.
In my book, I say, quoting Martin Luther King, I'm not concerned about longevity, right? I'm concerned about doing the will of the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. So when they say living your life to the fullest, that's the mantra that I live by. I live my life to the fullest. As I told you, I'm on my third marriage, very happily married now.
I like that now.
Yeah, I've got 3 children.
Yes.
124, 116, 111. Right? And I would like to see them grow up and so on. But they've got their own lives to lead. You understand? I've done my bit in every... I told you, at 13 years old, I was standing in front of the assembly asking people to bring tin stuffs to school so that we can go and give it to poor people or give it to stout schools.
Yes, there was a stout school in
at 13. Yeah. Okay, so I've been at it since 13. I'm not waking up
You're
now.
Not new to this.
I know other people are meeting me now to say, "Why? Who's this guy shouting? What's the story?" Somebody asked me, "How do you produce?" I don't know. It's not produce. But we're doing God's work, and that is an accumulation of 55 decades of observing politics, but also getting your hands with things to do to change your situation.
Do you think you're misunderstood?
Not really. I don't think I'm misunderstood. I think a lot of people understand me very well.
They get you.
They get me. It doesn't happen immediately. When I on my first show.
You're like a smart joke. Takes a little time.
It's interesting you say that because in my first radio show, somebody said, "But who is this LSM3 voice guy? What's going on?"
They called you LSM3.
Yeah, but in a year's time, it was the biggest show in the land. Yeah. Right? Because I didn't try to be Lawrence Dube. I can't. Even if I wanted to. Why would I want to be Lawrence Dube? Who was my idol for many years on radio. Why would I want to be Timothy? No, I'm JJ Tabane.
That's it.
And I went on radio, tried and be myself. Not be someone else.
Remained exactly that.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I don't think people misunderstand me. Sometimes people will just get used to. For example, when I got my first TV show on Newsroom Africa, people said, "Why is this guy shouting at us?" Because there were people who had never heard my radio show. Because I was pointing at them because I came back. I've been off air after being fired at Power FM.
We'll go to that. Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know the real story.
For a while, So now I've been off air for a while. Finished my PhD. Thanks to Given for firing me when he did. Because I had 3 months to finish my PhD. So I came back very fired up, and I was talking about agency. To say, exercise your agency. Because it was just about, I think we're 2 weeks to the elections at that time.
National
2019 election. Yeah. I said, if you don't exercise your agency, don't come crying to me.
Yeah.
When your children drown in toilets, when your partners beat you up because they know that there'll be no consequences, it's because you didn't exercise your agency. And that's a problem in this country.
Yeah.
We all know how to complain, but you need to couple that complaining with doing something to change your situation.
Get off our butts and go do something. So you're not a misunderstood guy.
No, I don't think I'm misunderstood. I think that it would be silly for me to think everybody must like me.
Yes, of course.
The people who don't like me is because they understand me very well. They just don't like my message. You understand?
Yeah.
Those who like me, maybe, in the ANC, for example.
Do you have those that like you within the ANC?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And those who hate me, it's because the ANC is so factional. There's no way they can't even agree on hating me, which is a great thing. No, seriously, I was at the ANC conference.
Yes.
Rally. Yeah, it's January 8th.
As in Limpopo.
Ordinary ANC people coming to me to say, keep doing what you are doing. And not say, you are insulting our leaders. And there's one who came to me, some reverend, who said, "Yeah, but you're so negative. You must be more patriotic." I'm very, very patriotic.
I guess he doesn't understand.
If I find something good that's happening, I'll be the first one. I pay tribute all the time on my show. I stopped to pay tribute to people who are great.
Yeah.
The other day, I just bumped into the daughter of the late Professor Mkhize because on the 24th of November, I stopped the show at the beginning and said, I want to dedicate this show to this great lady.
Yes.
She was on my show in November.
Okay.
Sorry, in August during Women's Month, and has always come to the show, even if I ask difficult questions or awkward questions. Right? Unlike the current Minister of Women, just try and get her for an interview. She has been refusing to come to the show for years. Even in this case, I had to call her chief of staff and say, if she doesn't come, I'm going to talk to her about her tonight. She said, no, she will come. She still cancelled that. I'm still waiting for her now. Right?
Wow.
So even in that small department. You found somebody good, like a deputy minister, former deputy minister, Professor Tlengu Mkhize, and the lady with a hole in her head. Who's the minister,
of course.
The minister
the former minister of
women. Yes,
right? Yes.
Hopeless. She's was sitting with a scourge of gender-based violence. When last did you hear her talk about anything that suggests that there is something we are doing about this scourge?
Well, she had a press conference a few weeks ago.
Oh no, press conference. Come on, be serious.
One day you'll be an ancestor.
Yeah.
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 Ish. Do you think you'll be a decent ancestor? Or
we'll still figure out whether we'll be alive post the grave. But because I don't smoke and I don't like cigars, yes. So on, maybe I'll be alright.
Or oros. Yeah, well, at least your kids will look at this and say,
oros. Just oros. That's all.
He's not a complicated man.
Absolutely. Yes. No, I prefer to do things now while alive. If people want to give me presents, I love presents, they must give it now. Not when I'm dead, when I'm not sure whether I can hear them or whatever.
So because you don't know
because we like doing that, isn't it?
Yes, that's true.
We like doing that.
It's part of the reasons why I do this, to celebrate South Africans while they're here. To say to you, I see you, and I hope South Africans will stop for a second and look at you as well and say, he's not so bad,
Oh, thank you, man.
Do you think your contribution, hopefully, and because it's a tricky question, will be remembered? Because I will remember it.
No, look, it's very interesting you say that. The internet is so unforgiving, isn't it?
Yeah.
People are giving me a clip of something I said 4 years ago. And I always challenge people, by the way, and say, I will pay you if something I said 8 years ago and something I said today, right, in principle is in contradiction. Because I'm not guided by party loyalty or factions or what you call a party line.
Yes.
I'm guided by what I believe. And even if in the future I'm wrong, I'll be able to acknowledge that, hey, I said this thing, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Not say, please cross the border by all means necessary, and then, by the way, why are we hiring foreigners? No. So I believe that all of us can make a contribution. I'm making a small contribution where I am, in a corner where I am.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like I was saying to you, the things that I'm doing, I hope that in the future they can still be remembered because we're immortalizing them. I'm editor of Leadership Magazine for 20 months now. Editor of BBQ Magazine for a few months now.
Yeah.
Those things, you can't take them away. They are there.
Yes, and they're part of your story.
You understand?
Yeah.
And that's people can make reference to them and take or leave it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for me that's what people I'll leave as a legacy for generations to come. That we are in a country where we fought for freedom and we exercise that freedom.
Yes.
Because so many people have died for it. So many people have sacrificed so that you and I can be able to talk here without
worried.
If I live here, I'll be arrested for having called the minister
with a hole in the head.
Or a minister
with a hole in the head.
Oh no! I hope she didn't hear it. No one hear this.
She will
never come to my show, man. But can you believe it? She went to Al Jazeera.
She did, and
in London.
That's where the hole in the head story came.
But when you call her to come to here to Hyde Park, she doesn't. It's too far. But she flies all the way to Al Jazeera in London, not the one here.
No, yes.
To embarrass herself and us. That's a problem with the politicians here. They rush to Ramaphosa was quick to go and have a 1 hour interview with Media 24. When we interviewed him last week here at Polokwane, we were all given 20 minutes. Quick, just interview him quickly and finish. I said, no, Mr. President, you must come to the ENCA for an hour and a half, man.
Are there still people you wish to speak to and interview?
Oh, yes.
Is it a long list?
It's a long list. I still need to talk to Trevor Manuel. I haven't spoken to him. I asked Tito Mboweni to ask him to say, please, it was not so bad. There's a whole list.
And
Alan Busa, I just talked to him last week. I want people in that league.
Yeah.
Cheryl Carlos was supposed to come this week, but we postponed her. She's going to come in April. There's a long list of people. I still need to talk to the leader of the Freedom Front.
Do you
talk about land?
Do you think you're an accidental broadcaster?
Yes.
Completely?
Yeah. Thanks to Given Makari, who just said, no, Papa, I think you must just come and do a show, man, every day. I said, eh? I said, yeah.
Why did he fire you?
Because he beat up his wife, and I talked about it on air. I said he mustn't do that.
Okay. I don't know why.
That's it. I mean, it's a summary.
It's
I mean,
not a,
he can
it's
go
a very
around lying
good
about
summary.
it, but that's what it is. He stopped talking to me after that show.
And when did you get the letter that said you're done?
3 months down the line, Bob Mabena was used as usual to fire me for no apparent reason.
So there was nothing that you had done on air specifically when you were fired, in let's say a day or two?
No, not at all. I was talking about this whole story I told you about Mutambi and so on.
Yes.
Then they decided to use that to fire me, to say, no, this is state capture. I mean, honestly, the report of state came out. The first part they talked about New Age and what. I don't appear anywhere next to that thing. They're talking nonsense. And for that, I'm suing them, actually. The case is still on.
Do you speak to
No.
even now?
We talked on the sidelines of being at what is called the University of the North. We both
yes, you both went there.
Yeah, it was very decent. I was on a panel that I was facilitating, and that was broadcast even in fact on Africa. Yeah, that's it. But we still have a case to sort out in front of the courts.
so
next month.
Yeah, it's still coming.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a lot of money, man. My wife can use that for some shopping.
For some shopping.
Yeah. I just need it for her because she sacrificed so much so that I can be on air.
Yes. And you seem to enjoy this accident that has happened in your life.
No, I am, because you see, they say we plan and God laughs. That's why I said once again in the intro of my book, not concerned about longevity. Concerned about doing the work of the Lord. That's why people say, aren't you afraid these people will kill you? These people are cowards. They'll kill me what for?
Yes.
They are cowards. I've been an enemy of the state for many years. If they wanted to kill me by now, they would have killed me. Even if they kill me tomorrow, what I've said remains on the internet. People will listen to those clips. Yes. They'll listen to those rants.
They'll listen to this one.
Book. They'll read the 300 pieces I've written on Daily Maverick. My voice would never die. It's a hopeless exercise. Right? So I'm not going there afraid. I was saying to Clement Manyatel on 702 when I was interviewing me, I consider every show of mine my last one. Because I'm not going there looking behind my shoulder, I can't say this about this minister or that. No, as long as it's fair game, right? And I believe I'm not always right. If I'm wrong, I'll go on and apologize.
Yes.
Anytime. I've done that before, because we're all human at the end of the day.
That's it. Yeah.
But we cannot be intimidated from doing the work of building this country, because others will say, yeah, but you're not so perfect yourself.
We're listening to you speak of the work of the Lord, and with so much passion, it makes me think of former Judge President Mogoeng.
Yeah,
that's the same tone.
Yeah,
very strong in his conviction of what he's doing, and he uses the same words for that matter.
It's going to be my guest. He's one of the people on my list. I've interviewed him before, but he's delayed coming to me now. He says he'll come when the Lord says he should come.
You see what I mean? So that's why
Which is fine. I relate with that. He must come when he's ready.
Yeah.
You cannot separate your Christian beliefs from your daily work. Yeah. It doesn't work. None of what I've done over the last 8 years on radio, on TV, on print was just because I'm so clever. No.
So you're still a church boy through and through?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go to church more often, but but I'm still a church. Like I told you, my wife is a priestess, or my father a priest. I mean, I'm surrounded by a priest. Archbishop Thabo called me when I was in the Holy Land and sent me to go somewhere where there's a tomb of where they put Jesus, and go there and pray there. When you come back, I'm going to ordain you. I think he's forgotten. That's okay.
So you're ready to be a pastor, ordained. You know, we can talk forever. Sure. And when we arranged this, you made it clear that you have time challenges. Yeah. And I'm known to go on forever.
I can come back.
Yes, no, we will, because I talking to you, I worry about it very often, because we can't help end up being political analysts.
No, it's true.
Yes.
There's still a lot to talk about.
Absolutely, about you.
So round 2 will be okay.
And round 2, we'll deliberately not talk politics.
That's fine. I'll discipline myself.
I want to know.
I'll talk about my kids.
Exactly. I want to know a dumb answer like your favorite color. I want to simplify it to that.
No, it's going to be nice. Let's do it soon.
Yes.
I'll talk to you about my favorite soul piece. I do watch. People say, when do you watch them? I said, yeah, I watch them.
Which one?
I watch Gomorrah. I watch Generations. I watch The River. I watch the Legacy. Understand? Because in the future I'm going to be a filmmaker. So I need to know what are these people doing? How are they writing these scripts? But I love those stories because those are South African stories told with such flair.
That's
with
true.
such beautiful talent.
And with consistency as well.
Absolutely.
They don't lose the type of quality they
No, absolutely. And we can talk about music, about the music that I like. We can talk about poetry. So I think maybe let's do part 2. You tell me when you are ready.
Done. No, I know. That's why I say, because talking to JJ,
Sorry, man.
But we'll do it again.
Okay,
this I will post soon, and then I will promise that.
Yeah. So round 2, let's do it. I'm turning 50 in July.
There you go.
So maybe let's do it as
build
part
up to that.
The birthday.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And thank you again for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you, man.
When I got a call to say he said yes, it's like, whoa, really? That was my reaction.
Because I know how it is when I ask people to come and they refuse. So I try.
People take this exercise for granted.
No, take it for granted. For example, just to get Mukhoeng the first time, it took me 6 months.
Whoa.
I'm not joking.
What?
Until he said to his office, can we just talk to this guy once and for all?
That's so sad, eh? And sometimes I feel sad when radio and TV people say no.
Yeah.
Because they know this.
They know this. We should stop that and do this for each other. Because we shape each other's perspective when you do that. But
That's
also, because we're always interrogating others.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes see how it feels.
That's it.
And that will improve us next time somebody's in front of us.
Yeah.
So anyway, part 2 coming.
It's coming. However, I have to ask you this as a communications expert, and I will give you that title. We exist in a time when brands like Make a Podcast and Chill, McG, is getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
We exist in a time when the technology of communication has changed so much. However, it's still the same in other sectors, like newspapers. I get newspapers delivered here at the house all the time.
Yeah.
TV is still the same, radio is still the same. However, there's this new medium that's coming in, that's bubbling under. South Africans, not all South Africans can access it financially and so forth and so on. However, it's still coming in.
Yeah.
The future of South Africa and how messages are communicated. What do you see when you look at it and you look at in relation to brands like Podcast and Chill with McG and so forth and so forth? What do you see?
We don't have enough time to deal with it. We'll do that in part 2. But I've just been invited to speak at a conference to talk about 4IR.
Okay.
And I was making fun. My wife was making fun of me because I was saying 4IR. Then we was talking 5IR.
Yeah, we are past that.
We are late.
Yes.
COVID pushed us forward. Right, and so people are going to consume no longer as appointment viewing. I mean, we still have a little bit of it. My show is at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
but once the 8 o'clock is over, it's on the line. You can literally Google Power to Truth with.
Yes,
maybe Mashabela. You must come. You must come. Don't think I forgot. You must come. And they can watch it anytime.
Yeah.
That's the future. The future is what you are doing now is the future.
Yeah.
Why? Because now you don't have anybody talking in your ear. Telling you what to ask. Which is the pleasure I have at ENCA.
They leave you alone.
Frankly, they've left me alone. I'll be lying.
If you said, well, control.
They've left me alone. And maybe it's because of the numbers, but they've left me alone. They don't tell me who to talk to.
They say it's working.
You understand? It's working. The day it's not working, I'll be out. You understand? Jeez. So we need to approach this media as it will only be more fruitful if it's independent.
Yeah.
And so we need to do what you're doing. Private sector must come on board and support all of us who want to be independent. Right? So to make sure that we can build. Because part of the liberation is the liberation of the mind.
That's true.
We are doing important work to liberate the mind.
You're a hero in my world.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work.
We'll keep doing what we're doing.
I'll see you in July sometime.
I'll celebrate a 50. I don't like the smell of it. Which body part is aching?
Everything. We'll talk about that when I see.
That's it. Because I was told after 47.
Oh, my
everything.
I'm telling you. I was in hospital 3 times this past year.
Including
COVID, including whatever else. But I agree you said we won't talk politics in July.
No.
So I'll be frank with you.
Well, tell me about that.
Ziyakhala.
Now can I only pay me some hate like yo, because I'm 46 and 47 in 9 months.
Oh my God.
I'm 47 in 9 months. Literally, my parents, they were having fun in Jan.
Approaching 5th floor fast. Okay.
Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. It's JJ Tabane. Onkgopotse. Yeah, that's
you, my
it.
brother.
I got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
King David Studio Podcast.